with host, Reverend Dr. Darren Toussaint.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you're overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, examining the paternity testing at birth proposal. And in the second watch, is there a viable path for the Sixth Form Pathways program? For our social media question, we ask, what are your thoughts on the paternity testing at birth proposal? Please share your responses on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM, and also on WhatsApp, 876, using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I quote.
This morning's I quote, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you do things differently. Warren Buffett.
So true. Good morning, Shivani.
Good morning, Rev. How are you?
Shivani, I'm doing well, and you, my brother?
Good, thank you. I'm good. I'm good.
Yes. By the way, it's so cool in the mornings. You're not using the AC, or did you open the windows?
No, there are no windows in here. The AC's
open the windows, somebody. Open the windows.
There's none inside here.
Okay.
But it's really cool.
The first one.
Christmas is
It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. Yeah, the first one should be back after this break.
25, Get a special Christmas advertising package on the family station Love 101 FM for only $25,000, $50,000, or $75,000 plus GCT this Christmas. 25, 50, 75. 25, 50, 75. Call our sales department now for this amazing deal. Christmas advertising packages for only $25,000, $50,000, or $75,000. Only on the family station Love 101 FM this Christmas. Don't miss your opportunity. Call our sales department now. 876-968-9596. That's 876-968-9596. Call now.
Tis the season for boldness with Berger.
Get 20% discount. A chance to win a grand prize of $200,000 in cash. Plus a share of $1 million in weekly cash and prizes. How to enter? Purchase any 2 gallons of eligible Berger paints and receive an entry code. Visit www.bergerpaints.mobi and enter the code along with your contact information. Promotion ends December 31st.
Tis the season for boldness with Berger.
Berger for lasting beauty and protection.
Seniors, the next payment under the social pension program begins on November 15 and funds are being sent directly to your bank account. Don't have a bank account? Then check your text messages to confirm your payment arrangements. For further information, call 876-922-8007 or check the ministry's website at www.mlss.gov.jm. The social pension program, caring for our elderly. A message from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
Youth Zoom, zeroing in on zealous youth. Yes, for the month of November, join us as we showcase our young people making big moves. Youth Zoom, every Tuesday and Thursday at 9:30 inside Love in the Morning. Zeroing in on zealous youth. November is Youth Month, so join us every Tuesday and Thursday at 9:30 inside Love in the Morning with me, Shivani Blair, your Youth Ambassador. Youth Month 2021. Come hear the stories, the testimonies, the hills and the valleys, and how they overcame. Join us for an exciting story. Youth Zoom, every Tuesday and Thursday at 9:30 9:30 inside Love in the Morning, zeroing in on zealous youth.
This is the soothing sound of your finances being handled by Grace Kennedy Financial Group. And this? It's actually the relaxing noise of your car and home insurance, handled by experts you can trust. Trust Grace Kennedy Financial Group to do your banking, insurance, investments, money services, and more gracefully. Get to know us at gracekennedyfinancialgroup.com.
Being a youth is difficult no matter what, and the COVID-19 pandemic is making it even harder. With school closures and canceled events, many youths are missing out on some of the biggest moments of their lives, as well as everyday moments like chatting with friends and participating in class. For young folks facing life changes and are feeling isolated and disappointed, know this: you are not alone. Your family station Love 101 is standing with you. Here are 6 things you can do to practice self-care and look after your mental health. Number 1, recognize that your anxiety is completely normal. Number 2, create distractions. Number 3, find new ways to connect with your friends. Number 4, focus on you. Number 5, feel your feelings. And number 6, be kind to yourself and others. Linda Poindexter says, one small crack does not mean that you're broken. It means that you are put to the test and it didn't fall apart. Hi, I'm Shavani Blair, your youth ambassador. And remember, now more than ever, we need to be thoughtful about what we share or say that may hurt others. Happy Youth Month. Let's evolve.
I'll lean on you, lean on me. We got this.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, the preliminary results of a study called the Male Fertility Study indicate that 20% or 1 in 5 persons experience paternity fraud. And this paternity fraud is said to have some relationship with domestic violence. Last week, the St. James Central Member of Parliament reportedly expressed his intention to bring to Parliament a motion calling for DNA paternity testing at birth. And so in this, the first watch, we'll have a closer examination of the proposal. And in so doing, we have online so far Mr. Lloyd B. Smith, CEO of the Western Mirror and the social commentator. And we are hoping to have joining us Miss Nadine Spence, social and political commentator. Mr. Lloyd B. Smith, good morning.
Good morning, Reverend. Glad to be on your program. Hello.
Good to have you with us. Yes, good. Can you hear me?
Huh?
Yes, can you hear me, Mr.
Hello.
Smith?
Yeah, me and you quite well.
Okay, good. How are things in the West? How's the temperature over there?
We have just recovered from, as you know, we had some serious flooding recently, and we have sufficiently recovered from that now.
Yes.
Some of the most affected roads have been cleared. We are now in the throes of a state of emergency, so that brings its own problems for, well, one of the setbacks from most of us as voters is that having to go through these checkpoints take a great deal of time, which is, a very long, winding traffic, which I am not so happy with because it means a lot of man hours are being unnecessarily lost. But that's the reality.
Yes.
But, life has to go on and we have to live with what has been imposed on us as a community in the interest, we are being told, of stemming the rising murder situation.
Yes, we have all of these concerns. Well, we have joined us as well, Ms. Nadine Spence. Ms. Spence, are you with us?
I am. Hello, good morning. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm okay, you know. Sitting up here
Great.
in Mona watching the rain.
Yes. Showers of blessings. Well, I'm going to begin with you, Ms. Spence, and then I throw to Mr. Smith. What are your opening thoughts on this paternity testing at birth proposal, and why?
Well, the minister, the MP who proposed paternity testing also indicated why he said paternity testing at birth would help to reduce domestic violence. And by domestic violence, I'm thinking that he perhaps is referring to violence against women. If any deeper look into the matter, will recognize that the capacity for paternity testing to reduce domestic violence is in fact not there at all, and that those who have studied it have suggested that it might in fact exacerbate the problem. And so I think it is not a well thought out plan at all, not one that is hinged on any serious research or serious analysis on any attempt at alleviating the domestic violence crisis that we might have in this country.
You're saying it might exacerbate the problems. Why you say so, Ms. Spence?
You know, I have looked at, you know, some instances in the world where people have suggested that paternity testing should be done, and that and whether or not the person who should be informed of the result of a paternity test and how they should be informed. And there is a kind of fear that if there is in fact paternity misassignment, or as the American embassy had called it, paternity fraud, and someone hears about it, that it is likely to exacerbate tensions and situations of conflict. And so it's not something to be handled in a situation where it's distrust and mistrust and broken relationships. We don't throw fuel on that fire. We find ways to alleviate the tension, but certainly paternity testing as a way of alleviating domestic violence is not going to be that solution.
Interesting. Mr. Smith, what's your take on it?
Well, first of all, as Nadine said, I don't think we have sufficient compelling data to back up what the Member of Parliament has put forward. For me, it's a very complex issue. Anecdotally, it is not only a question of domestic violence that rears its ugly head, but I have seen situations where, quite frankly, men have accepted the situation. There was a classic case that was reported some time ago where this man found out, and as usually came about because the children were being tested to go to the state, and there were about 5 in all, and it turned out that none of them was his. And there was no violence. He accepted the reality, and he and his mate moved on.
Quite unique. Perhaps a unique experience.
Of course. But we do know that in some instances, yes, some amount of violence may occur. But I don't know if government should take on this type of role where you're going to seek to legislate morality. And the other thing too is there are jackets not only in the lower socioeconomic bracket of the society, but also in the higher echelons of the society. At the upper end, they may not be violent because, of course, we know of the tight-lipped approach in terms of how people react at that level. What we are looking at is what happens in the lower socioeconomic areas, where women primarily out of economic reasons end up having more than one mate, and so in the process may have had pregnancies that they themselves sometimes don't even know who's the father. So to me, to institute this thing is only going to, as Nadine said, exacerbate the problem, because
Okay.
Also, we have to look at
Tell
the
you what,
cost.
tell
How
what,
much
Mr.
is
Smith.
the cost? And who's
Mr. Smith.
going to stand the cost?
Yeah, could you just hold that thought, Mr. Smith? We are up on a break. We'll be right back.
Between 2015 and 2020, there were 74,455 reports of child abuse in Jamaica. Report child abuse. Call 211.
The time brought to you by Child Protection Services is
7:16.
Digicel go on with a whole heap of something. Like the 7 gigabytes of YouTube data you know get when you activate a 7-day Digicel Prime bundle. And a whole heap more end-use data. Moving from 6 to 8 gigabytes. Plus you get 49 gigabytes to enjoy more sports, music, and movies. With Digicel apps, a really whole heap of something that for the same price. Only $850. Activate your 7-day Prime bundle in the My Digicel app today. Digicel, better together.
25, 50, 75. 25, 50, 75. Get a special Christmas advertising package on the family station Love 101 FM for only $25,000, $50,000, or $75,000 plus GCT this Christmas. 25, 50, 75. 25, 50, 75. Call our sales department now for this amazing deal. Christmas advertising packages for only $25,000, $50,000, or $75,000. Only on the family station Love 101 FM this Christmas. Don't miss your opportunity. Call our sales department now. 876-968-9596. That's 876-968-9596. Call now.
Are you an accomplished professional with senior managerial experience? Optimize your profitability with a high-impact doctoral degree from the University of Sunderland, offered through the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean. Practitioners without a master's degree but with significant senior managerial experience can also be considered for direct admission into the professional doctoral degree program. Begin your next journey of discovery. Apply online today at ucc.edu.jm or call us at 876-906-3000. UCC, fostering leadership and innovation.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in this, the first watch, we are seeking to examine the paternity testing at birth proposal. And in so doing, we have online Ms. Nadine Spence, social commentator, Mr. Lloyd B. Smith, managing editor of the Western Mirror. Mr. Smith, before the break, you were talking about the cost factor.
Yes, I don't know if Nadine has any idea. I don't, because I've never done one of those. But I gather it is quite expensive. And who is going to stand that cost? Because if we are looking at these women in the lower socioeconomic bracket, it's going to create a serious challenge. And is it that I don't know if the MP had put in his proposal or intends to put his proposal that the state is going to stand the cost, because that is going to be one aspect of the whole scenario that you know has to be looked at in the final analysis. Yes. And so I don't think his proposal has been well thought out. I think it's a knee-jerk reaction to a situation. Violence in Jamaica, domestic violence, is a very complex issue, and it cannot be sort of separated in this way, and then you pick on this one little area and try to blow it up and make it look as if, well, this is going to be solving a tremendous amount of problem where violence is concerned. No, I think we have to look at the whole question of socialization. We have to look at the whole question of how to assist especially young mothers, teenage mothers, because I think this is where sometimes where the question of violence comes in. Because in the middle and upper class areas, you're not going to find a man chopping up his wife because he find out that the baby is not his. Because remember, there's another side to this whole thing, I don't know if you remember the song Shame and Scandal in the Family.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? So it's a very complex issue, and I don't think a piece of legislation is the way to go.
Miss Spence, earlier you had mentioned, and I'm paraphrasing, that you don't think the proposal is based on serious research. But based on my reading, the proposer has mentioned a university research that was done, same university that you belong to, Ms. Spence, where the allegation is made that the paternal issues contribute to Jamaica's high rate of domestic violence. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, we did Jamaica did an official study on violence against women, the Women's Health Survey, which was done in 2016, I think, which is the only study that was done that looks at the matter of violence against women. The police releases statistics each year on the numbers of domestic violence, and when we talk about the broad count of domestic violence, which includes just generally family violence. But that was done in 2016, which saw a broad-based study which was conducted with data collected by the Statistical Institute. It's the only official study that looks at the causes of violence against women from a Jamaican perspective. From what I read as to what would constitute the UE study, is a master's student who had not yet finished collecting data. So I don't think that is a reliable enough source of research information for us to then have a lawmaker going into the parliament to propose a legislation that would significantly alter the lives of Jamaicans.
So at what level? What level of research would you want that to be? At the doctorate level before it becomes reliable?
No, I'm doing my PhD, you know. I cannot, a doctoral student is not going to do research such that you can then draw broad conclusions. One doctor student, one PhD student. You are going to need, I think, a much more involved study that is going to demand a whole lot of resources, capital and human resources. And so I would imagine that if he thought that this was a significant enough issue, he should perhaps come to the parliament and ask that a commission be set up, a group, you know, some kind of investigation be set up to look at the issue, to look at its impact on the nation, to even if it was that we had a broad-based study that was done that would lead us to draw some conclusions, it would still mean that government needed to look on other aspects of that study, because you can't just look at one study and decide that that's it, I'm going to change laws to match this study. Research is done from people's perspectives, and people draw conclusions based on the questions that they asked in the first place. What if I wanted to ask some other questions? You know what I'm saying? So I don't think one study is and one incomplete study at the master's level is enough for you to then walk into parliament and say, let us change laws. It demands more than that. So I think that what could have worked is if the parliamentarian had come to parliament and, as I said, proposed a commission that was looking at the issue, because he thought it had significant impact on the Jamaican family and implications for how we raise children. And so we need to look at it and get a sense of the picture and a big picture of the issue. And then we begin to see, you know, what are some of the potential solutions? And then one solution to this problem, again, is also kind of myopic. No social issue has one solution that is going to be the ultimate fix. It requires much more thought than that.
But is he saying it's only one solution, or is he positing a way forward? That he's saying, you know, among the others, this is the way forward.
The 2016 study, which was conducted by Statin, which was a national study, which was conducted by a team of people, the first study on violence against women done in Jamaica, offered a number of reasons for violence against women, and that whole issue of paternity misassignment was not one of them. And that study was accepted by his government as a study that would inform some of the policies and strategies to approach violence against women and girls. So I'm not quite sure what idea the government is working with as to how we assess.
I guess we will see. Yeah, we will see. Yeah, Mr. Smith, How would you respond to the view, the argument that's separate and apart from what we spoke about earlier? What about the male partners? Do they not have a right to know if the child or children is or are theirs? And also, what about the children themselves? A right to know who their biological fathers are?
Well, I was going to come to the whole question of the children because they are really the center of this whole jigsaw puzzle. But yes, the man has the right to know, but sometimes also the woman, because as I said, in some instances, the woman is not so sure who is the father. And hence the need for paternity test. But the fact is, as that deal as positive, and listening very carefully to what she has said, I have come to the conclusion that this proposal is putting the cart before the horse. In other words, what should be the essential approach now is for there to be in-depth research that will bring about very conclusive data that can then influence government policy. And that is how legislation is usually carried out. There has to be the concrete and irrefutable information, which then forms the basis for legislation. What is happening here is that, as I said, it's a knee-jerk reaction, and it has several prongs to it, some of which could be detrimental to not just the mother, but the child, the father, and the society as a whole. So I think we have to be very careful how, as we say, we go about doing this thing. And as I said, it is not the duty of government to legislate morality.
Well, I perhaps have a little concern about that statement, Mr. Smith. Because when you talk about theft is about morality, murder is about morality, all of those things. So I'm not so sure I agree with you on that. But anyway.
Yeah, but what I mean is, in this particular instance,
I think the government has a right to legislate morality. But anyway, Miss Spence.
Murder and sex between two consenting adults is sex. Murder is taking the life of another.
Well, let me ask you, though, Miss Spence, what's your take on that in regards to the children? The right of the children to know and the right of the man to know whether the child is his.
Yeah, but as Lloyd B said, we use the term paternity fraud as if a woman who sometimes gives a man a child that is not his biologically. No, sometimes women don't know because of the kinds of relationships that they are engaged in, not just with them, but the men themselves. Sometimes it's not meant to be a permanent relationship, but it doesn't mean that pregnancy doesn't result from that. And so it's as if sometimes women know at the beginning who this child is. Sometimes some of them might know and might choose to say, okay, this is the father, and they do that for different reasons, and this is not me trying to justify any of that. But of course, the child needs to know. But also know that a lot of the time, well, I don't know how many times, so let me not say, that there have been occasions where a biological father doesn't do the work that a father who is not the biological father would do. So there's no guarantee that it's automatically going to be the best thing for the child. A lot of people will tell you that my biological father has not been there for me. It's this man who has fathered me, who has really stood with me and my mother throughout this situation. And even though a woman might have gone to the court or gone through the situation and has done the testing and proven that this is the father, it doesn't automatically mean that the child is going to be accepted by this father and loved and taken care of. So there are a lot of assumptions that we are making that automatically a child knows that this is my biological father. It's going to work out to the child's benefit. We know that that's not true. So we can't idealize that situation either. We're not saying you shouldn't know, but we shouldn't idealize it as if every child who has encountered and lived with a biological father or knows a biological father is automatically uplifted from that experience. That's not true.
Yes. Well, we have to leave it there. I want to thank you both for what I regard as an informative and insightful discussion. Have a productive day, lady and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, thank you much.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Now with no processing fees and no down payment, it's time to open the door to your own sweet home. The time by JN Bank is
7:30 a.m.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Between 2015 and 2020, there were 74,455 reports of child abuse in Jamaica. January to June 2021, 1,203 reports of sexual abuse, 1,465 reports of physical abuse, 2,528 reports of neglect. Report child abuse. Call 211.
25, 50, 75. 25, 50, 75. Get a special Christmas advertising package on the family station Love 101 FM for only $25,000, $50,000, or $75,000 plus GCT this Christmas. 25, 50, 75. 25, 50, 75. Call our sales department now for this amazing deal. Christmas advertising packages for only $25,000, $50,000, or $75,000. Only on the family station Love 101 FM this Christmas. Don't miss your opportunity. Call our sales department now. 876-968-9596. That's 876-968-9596. Call now.
Experience crazy low prices during the Home and Things Moen Madness sale. Yes, get big discounts on all Moen faucets, sinks and bathroom accessories. Not to mention huge discounts on bathroom fixtures, lighting, windows, doors, and much more. Check out the new arrivals of tiles at ridiculously low prices. You can't afford to miss the Moen Madness sale at Home and Things, Wallhope Road and Constant Spring Road. Top quality products at unbelievable low prices. With prices this low, you think we're going insane?
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Thanks for staying with us. Let's take a look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In the Gleaner, everyone knows I'm a snitch. Ex-gang trial witness on charges say cover blown overseas. Claims that Jamaican police have turned their back on him. And then we need back with Christmas. Despite temporary relief, Sunlight Street not optimistic. SOE will bring end to dark times. We see also in the Gleaner, former conductor awarded millions for injuries after JUTC driver hits pothole. In the Observer, 20 stabs and left to die. Jealous man attacks ex. Police on his trail. And then students owe NCU $577 million. And then we see that Hope Gospel Assembly gives $800,000 in cash and kind to hospital. Very good. Well, coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question. What are your thoughts on the paternity testing at birth proposal? We're asking you to leave a comment on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
Youth Zoob, zeroing in on zealous youth. Yes, for the month of November, join us as we showcase your people making big moves. Youth Zoob, every Tuesday and Thursday at 9:30 inside Love in the Morning. Zeroing in on zealous youth. November is Youth Month, so join us every Tuesday and Thursday at 9:30 inside Love in the Morning with me, Shivani Blair, your Youth Ambassador. Youth Month 2021. Come hear the stories, the testimonies, the hills and the valleys and how they overcame. Join us for an exciting story. Youth Zoob, every Tuesday and Thursday at 9:30 inside Love in the Morning. Zeroing in on zealous youth. Have some issues and concerns in your community that you wish could be attended to now? Want a platform to voice those concerns? This could be the place for you. Send your 30-second voice notes describing your issue to 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. Be sure to type a voice for hope before sending the voice note. Then listen on Tuesday at 9:45 a.m. for a voice for hope. Share the concerns you have seen. You know that street light that has not been working for a long time, or your community has not had water for 2 weeks now? Yes, here's somewhere you can share it. And maybe, just maybe, we can get some love on your situation. Remember now, send a 30-second voice note describing your issue and type a voice for hope before sending your voice note to 876-997-3125. A voice for hope. It's a problem, and we need a solution now. Love 101 FM, the family station, bringing a voice to your situation.
Everybody says no judgment or me not judge people, but from judging something as simple as someone's attire to their life decisions, can we really say that we don't judge? Can it be justified? Let's get to the root of this issue. Tune in to The Rock on Tuesday, November 16 with host Bishop Steve Blair and guest as they discuss the topic judging. That's The Rock, Tuesday, November 16 at 10 a.m. on Love 101, the family station.
Hello, I am Kenneth Richards, the Catholic Archbishop of Kingston. I am vaccinated and I encourage all persons to get vaccinated for their own health and for the common good. Some persons are hesitant. However, I invite you to consider what is the best response to the pandemic. The fact is, those who are dying are unvaccinated persons. Support and promote taking the vaccine and follow the supplemental protocols. Do so for personal health, the health of others, as a civic duty, for we are our brothers and sisters' keeper. Amen.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm host Dylan Toussaint. And so, let's join Shivani for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. What are your thoughts on the paternity testing at birth proposal? Shivani.
All right, so Teresa Howell says, what about the man who refuses to be tested? How would one deal with that? Let me hear from Marilyn.
Yes, I agree with that, because a lot of men are suffering when they find out that you are living with a woman for so many years or even a year or whatever. And when you check it out, the child is not yours. That is not right. And especially when they go overseas and they're filing for the kids and the blood work and all of that. And it's not right. And that causes a lot of conflict and cause killing. I'm not saying it's right to kill, but that's how angry some person are that they turn to violence.
All right, let me jump to another one.
I think the member of parliament needs to provide compelling evidence that paternity fraud is a significant enough contributor to domestic violence before we can then say, let's have DNA testing at birth as a way to answer to domestic violence concerns. He has not connected all the dots before he has brought this intention to bring the motion to parliament. It is, as Mr. Lightby Smith said, put the cart before the horse. That's my view.
That's on Blacker Ellis. Let me just do this one. Let's do this one.
Good morning. I am responding to the Morning Watch question, re paternity DNA testing at birth. I am in agreement with it because speaking from a personal experience with family member who was given at birth to say that he was our family, and it was long after later on in his life as a grown youth it was discovered that was not so. And I have seen the effect that it has on the child, on the mother, and on the family. So if this was done on the child at birth, then all of this hate and resentment would have been avoided.
All right, Rev, we leave it there.
Serious topic, Shivani.
Indeed.
Serious topic. Yes, thank you. Thanks to all those who responded. We appreciate it. Well, listeners, as we segue into the second watch, one wonders, what is the path set out for the Ministry of Education's much trumpeted sixth form pathways program? Is it viable? Achievable? Is it commendable? Especially when one considers the many challenges facing Jamaica's education sector at this time. Well, to discuss this and other related matters, we have joining us Deacon Ronnie Thwaites, former Minister of Education and attorney at law. Good morning, Deacon Thwaites.
Morning, Reverend. Happy to be with you.
Good to have you with us. We were hoping to be joined by the principal of a secondary school, but she's having some technical challenges. Let me just ask you, therefore, Deacon Thwaites, what, we're talking about this this sixth form thing. What is your understanding of it?
It is an attempt to enlarge the available time for education by an additional 2 years to take it to grade 13, which perhaps 25% of our grade 11 students can avail themselves in traditional sixth forms and technical sixth forms. The hope is that could be made available now to all persons all 37,000 or so, who would be leaving grade 11 in any one academic year. That's the intention.
Yes, and your views on it, Deacon?
My views on it are that while it is a good intention, it is misplaced at this time.
Misplaced?
Yes, entirely misplaced. Our main problem, we must stop majoring in the minors. The problems facing Jamaica's young people, facing our civilization, have nothing to do at this point with the additional 2 years. We have been out of school for almost 20 months. There's been huge fallback, both socially, morally, and educationally. And that is what we have to concentrate our resources and our efforts to deal with, not enlarging the scope. 1, 2, pre-COVID, and it will be much worse now, 20% of our children don't go to school on any given day. Therefore, they're missing on average 1/5 of already limited educational opportunities. Finding higher education prospects for people who have missed 1/5 of their education is a misplaced priority. Secondly, we know that some 30% at least, and it's going to be more now, of our children come to school hungry every day. Empty bag cannot stand up, Reverend Toussaint. We need to make sure that we are feeding them. We know that we are graduating, escalating students and eventually graduating them, and they can't read and write and they don't know how to behave themselves. Yes, we know that 40% of our students don't do homework on a regular basis. We need to fix those things, those elemental things first, so that we have a substructure upon which we can base additional resources into higher education.
Yes, Deacon, are you through?
Well, I could go on, but I think those are fairly basic things. How can we be talking about adding 2 grades and the expenditure connected with it when we can't even get our children back into school now, sir?
Yes, well, all right. Hold that thought then. We are up on a break. We'll be right back.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on J&B Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. J&B Bank will help you find a way.
As we continue to celebrate Youth Month 2021, we are pausing to take a look at podcasting. Join the Campus Connection family this Tuesday, November 16 at 5:30 p.m. as we talk podcasting with podcasters Crystal Day, Chantal McIntosh, and Daniela White. We're going to talk all things podcast. How much do you know and how much more should you know? And Love 101's Youth Ambassador Shavoni Blair will be with the Campus Connection family again. That's Campus Connection this Tuesday, November 16 at 5:30 p.m. right here on the family station. Love 101.
Jamaica's gangs are like packs of rats. They live in filth and try and drag us all in there with them, spreading the disease of violence and corruption everywhere. But like a pack of rats, they can be eliminated with your help. If you have information on gangs, call Crime Stop on 311. This message is brought to you by Crime Stop and their marketing partners, Lime and NCB.
This is the family station, Love 101. It is 7:47.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in the second half of the second watch, we're asking, is there a viable path for the proposed sixth form pathways program? And we have online Deacon Ronnie Threads, former Minister of Education and attorney at law. Also, do we have Mrs. Jones online? Just checking. Mrs. Jones? Okay, still having some technical issues. All right, Deacon Threads, before the break, you said that in your view it's misplaced priority. And it is alleged that a major thought behind the program is the reduction of idleness and exposure to criminal activity on the part of some children or many upon reaching fifth form. So the idea is that they are targeting that concern by ensuring that they are still in school for at least 2 more years. What's your response to that?
Do it right the first time, Reverend. Make sure that when the children get to grade 11, they can read, they can write at a satisfactory level, and that they have at least one employable skill.
We can't do both. We can't do both, Deacon, at the same time. Addressing the concerns about the idleness and also their literacy skills.
We aren't doing both. What are the measures that are being taken to ensure that every child who reaches grade 11 can have those basic skills? Please tell me if the resources of the system can be so calibrated to ensure that both the foundation and the superstructure are available. Of course, I'll agree, but that's not what we're doing, sir.
Okay. We have Mrs. Jones, Aniona Jones, principal of the Marcus Garvey Technical High School, assistant PRO of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools. Good morning. Good to have you, Mrs. Jones.
Thank you so much.
Your thoughts on the proposal?
I totally agree that there needs to be far more done to secure learning for children, especially in the formative years, where it has been proven that a solid foundation is the greatest predictor of success. At this particular juncture, I agree that there are students who definitely could benefit from additional time in school as a remediation effort in the short term. However, if we do not fix challenges that we are currently facing in securing high quality learning for children at the early childhood and primary levels, we are going to be slapping a band-aid on a waterfall. It is just a significant challenge that needs to be addressed more thoroughly, more comprehensively from the start if we are to get this right eventually.
And couldn't this work therefore together in conjunction with what you mentioned?
As a short-term measure, I believe, as I mentioned earlier, that like my colleagues, we are familiar with a 7-year system that allows for children to matriculate into traditionally 3-year colleges, universities, or 4-year college programs. So we're not denying that we already have a history of having some measure of 7-year education in the system. What the concern is that, you know, when you make this now mandatory without a proven track record of securing resources, finances, additional space, human and material resources are already very short in the system, we wonder whether or not it's going to be sustainable. So in schools like mine, for instance, we've just had a 6th form program now. This is our 4th year. There are still high schools in Jamaica that do not have a 6th form program and really to do so. So of my 354 grade 11 students, I can only take back 75. What I'm also not hearing in the conversation is the COVID reality. Remember, it's not like one time where you could stuff 45 bodies in a space in some effort to try to instruct all of them. The COVID reality is that you really cannot put children in a room closer than maybe 3 feet, and we aim for 6 feet ideal, 6 feet distance as a way of arranging the classroom. So when it is that you now take that COVID reality into account, we may have to even lower those numbers of who we can accommodate on our physical plan. So there are many things right now that we would love to have worked through before we use terms like mandatory, compulsory. You understand where we're going? There's so many logistics that us on the ground as school administrators. If it works, great. But if it doesn't work, it falls back on the lap of a principal. What did you do to secure it working? Well, we're telling you now from the beginning that we have concerns. Can we please have an open forum where we are not told what we ought to do, but rather we're given an opportunity to participate in crafting a way forward where we know that we are willing to be held accountable for its success?
Yeah. The countries, what you both have been saying so far sound very reasonable, very rational to me. I'm just wondering, wouldn't the Ministry of Education have factored these concerns and considerations into their decision going forward? Are there not commendable things about this program that we need to highlight?
First of all, I'd like to greet Mrs. Jones, one of the strong educators in Jamaica's educational enterprise. Good morning, Mrs. Jones. Nice to be with you again.
Good morning. Yes, absolutely. Always love to have a good educational conversation with you.
Good. Reverend Toussaint, I don't know the answer to the question. I have some superintendents of the Roman Catholic schools in Jamaica, and what I do know is that none of the boards, none of the principals, nor the bishops, nor myself have been consulted on this at all. That, in my view, is a breach of Section 12 of the Education Act. And in addition, it is just discourteous. And the concerns that Mrs. Jones has raised are common to everyone. And yes, so it is commendable to try to expand the education system. But you don't do so without full engagement with those who are involved and responsible, like the principals. And I beg to remind everyone that 1/2 of all of the schools in Jamaica almost are owned or sponsored by the Christian churches. And they are not residual, marginal elements in the system who can be told what to do. They are participants. and responsible under God for the success of the venture that they have nourished, started, kept going for 2 centuries. Huh?
Absolutely. And just to, put another spin on the conversation that we're having, there is no principal who is going to tell you that providing an opportunity for children is ever a bad thing. That's not what we're saying. We know that there are existing schools that have very successful sixth form programs, and we want those to continue to work in the context led by the board that are given the legal authority to do so and presided over by principals. The primary concern that we have is how we're going to get this done. We also believe that there has to be a provision for 6 years versus compulsory 7 for those students, for instance, who would have achieved a Heart Level 1 certificate at the end of the 11th grade and may require an additional year to get a Level 2. Now, many schools don't have the provision to go to Heart Level 3 certification, and it is a waste of time to give a program that can be done in 1 year, a 2-year stretch, just to stretch it out over time. So there are some logistical issues that we are saying we need to look at, so we don't take a one-size-fits-all approach and apply the same measure across the system where the context does not require it. So is a 7-year program a good thing? The fact that we've had it and we continue to have students move on to sixth form and post-secondary studies is testament to that. What we're saying now is, let us design the system for those spaces that don't currently have it in the context of what the students in that particular jurisdiction need, and let's make the conversation participatory. Let us ensure that the information that we're sending is accurate, complete, and that when we do it correctly for the maximum benefit of the students. And let's use some existing things that are already in place and working, and let's work the system from early childhood all the way through to tertiary for the benefit of all our children.
Well, Mrs. Jones, has the Ministry of Education consulted persons like yourself and the organization that you represent in this process?
We have been called to meetings where we have been informed of the plans moving forward. And usually there is about 15-20 minutes that is reserved for some question and answers that usually does not quite facilitate this kind of open conversation and participation in the design and creation of the program. So I would say that the ministry is excellent at sensitizing us on its plans. Whether or not we believe that we are a part of the creation design of said programs that we're expected to preside over, we're not very happy with the modus operandi at this particular time, and remain very open to always having a conversation with our employers on how it is that as the managers on the ground, we can best serve
so when
our parents
when,
and our
when it was mentioned then, Mrs. Jones, I'm sorry, when it was mentioned, Mrs. Jones, in that context, what was the feedback from persons like yourself?
There were a lot of questions about financing. I know that I have been running at Marcus Garvey Technical a program that would more closely resemble what is being proposed. And I know that my finances, for example, my budget, I had an increase of nearly 40% in teaching learning expenditure just to be able to go up to sixth form. And it was not quite accommodated in any major increase in my budgetary allocation. So other principals in situations like myself had questions about that. Then we get teachers, but on 4-month rotation, and these teachers are leaving. I am about to lose 3 now by the end of November, because if they get jobs longer than 4 months, they're going to go, and they should. So there were many questions that arose, and obviously, if you're positive in between meetings, there was no time to really address it fulsomely for us to leave feeling confident that we knew how those would be treated.
Yeah. Speaking about time, we are out of time in terms of our discussion this morning. We want to thank you both for joining us, for enlightening us even more on what is going on behind the scenes and how
will the church take a stand?
We're leaders in the church, Ronnie, so let us see what we can do on that.
Well, I really wonder, are you going to sit down and be railroaded again and have your investment and your mission undermined?
Yes,
I want to leave with you, sir, on this station.
As church leaders, we're going to talk about that some more. Thank you both for joining us. Have a good day.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, listeners, for being with us. For information or get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-959627. You can now listen to the Morning Watch on Love 101 app. Download it today. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Miss Kathy Gale, and our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint, handing you back to Love in the Morning with Siobhan Blair.
This is the family station, Love 101. It's 8 o'clock, folks, and it's time for the program Forwarding Faith.